video will be a little different than usual. It has little to do with off-road and more of how we get our Jeep there. We have to do some repairs on the trailer. During our trip to Roush Creek in April of 2017, we hit a pretty good pothole that bent our front axle on the passenger side. We were in denial for some time until it was obvious with the wear on the side of the tire. Now, as Tom Petty would say, don't Boris get to the chorus. Removing the tire is pretty straightforward. That shouldn't need much explanation. Once you have the tire off, you can take the dust cap off. From there, you can remove the cotter pin that retains the axle nut. Once you have the pin out, you can take the nut off. This one took a little effort. The other side came right off without the socket. After the nut is off, the drum should pull right off. To get the brake off, there are 4 nuts in the back. There isn't much room between the end of the bolt to the brake and the U-bolt, so getting the ratchet back off was sort of difficult. I ended up switching to a ratcheting wrench. The brake then pulls right off. I was putting new brakes on, so I just cut the wires. Removing the U-bolts proved that I need to spend more time on the row machine. This side wasn't bad, but the passenger side had me smoked. I ended up snapping one of the U-bolts right off. I only removed one U-bolt from each side to save time and energy, and just moved the mounting plate out of the way so I could slide the axle out. I then slid the new axle into place. I left the rubber caps on to protect the threads and to keep dirt off the spindles. As you put the U-bolts on, make sure they are straight and get them finger tight. Then as you tighten them, you only want to do half a turn each time to ensure both sides of the U-bolt is getting tightened equally. I must have got a bad U-bolt because that pop you are about to hear is it stripping. I couldn't get the nut off after stripping the bolt, so I had to cut the U-bolt off. To get the trailer back to the house, be able to use the power, I had to tie the axle up with some 550 cord and a zip tie. I don't recommend this at all. I only live half a mile away. After running to Tractor Supply for a new U-bolt, which I had to go to for a new tire anyway, we were back in business. Someone wants to say hello.
Can I say hi?
Before bolting the new brake on, the wiring needs to be tied together, which is pretty simple. It's just 2 wires. Then line the bolts up on the brake to the holes in the axle flange and tighten the nuts down. With the new drum, you have to install the bearing and seal yourself. It's not that big a deal. The race is already in. You just have to drop the bearing in and put the seal in. Put a little grease in so the bearing has something to start with, and make the seal go in easier. I have a seal and race drive set, but you could use a 2x4. You just have to get the whole seal to go in at once. If it goes crooked, it could bend and not seal properly. Now you can take the rubber protective cap off and remove the retaining nut. I applied a little grease to the spindle to allow the seal and bearings to slide on easier. Put your washer and retaining nut on. You don't want it super tight because you will have too much load on the bearings. I put it a little over hand tight, then backed it off to align the safety clip. Check for play. You want just a little. Dexter axles don't use cotter pins to hold the nut on. You use a safety clip. Put your new dust cap on. I used my seal and bearing driver to help keep it straight. It would really help if the manufacturer would bevel the edge of the hub. Then start pumping grease in. It took about 100 pumps to get it to start seeping out of the end. Put the rubber dust cap plug in and put the tire back on. Don't forget to tighten in a star pattern. I do my own tires a lot and it's really not that hard. First you break the bead. I use my high lift jack and place the foot as close to the wheel as I can. Sometimes it will break on the first time, and then sometimes you have to move the spot you are trying to brake. Maybe I could have secured the camera a little better. Once you get the bead broke comes the fun part. This has little to do with strength and is all about technique. My valve stem was fairly new, so I was going to reuse it. So to make sure I didn't damage it, I got that side off first. The key is to keep the opposite side of the tire in the groove of the wheel and try not to pry too much of the tire off at once. Just a little section at a time. I'll show you the groove once I have the tire off. I didn't beat the rain, so I had to move into the garage. The back is the same as the front, mostly. I was being slightly impatient and kept trying to work on too big of a chunk at a time. Once I got the wheel off, I ran a rag over it to clean it up a bit. Putting a little soap and water on the bead will help you get the tire onto the wheel easier. Next, start working on getting the wheel on. You want to put the outside of the tire down and work the wheel in from the back, maintaining the opposite side of the tire in that groove again. I was having a little bit of difficulty with this tire because it was so narrow. I kept grabbing the bead of the outside of the tire too. You'll see when I flip it over. These problems can cause injuries too. Yes, I hit myself in the face. Suck it up and drive on. You can see where I have about half the outside of the tire already mounted. Because the tire was so narrow and I don't like playing with starter fluid and tire bombs, I went and had it seated. It only cost me $5 and didn't have a large fireball in my front yard. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tune in next time and hopefully we'll be on the trail. But until then, ramble on.